Welcome to part 4 of this Football Manager 2020 experiment. If you've missed parts 1, 2 and 3, then go and watch them first. So in the first 3 videos of this experiment, we have seen Mr. Perfect, the world's greatest footballer ever, drive Oxford City up the English Football League pyramid into the Premier League. And of course they did qualify for the Europa League, but unfortunately last season they finished mid-table. And there's been a few changes. Of course there's new ownership at the club, Chinese ownership. Frank de Boer's come in, the Dutchman is in charge of the management. But Mr. Perfect is still here, he's still the key player. They've made a few transfers over the summer, spending £68 million. The highlights include Chris Mepham from Bournemouth, the Welsh international. Maitland-Niles, the ex-Arsenal and ex-Everton player, according to this universe. He's also played for Watford, as you can see there, so he's moved for £18 million. Benjamin Henriques from Monaco, who's got 3 caps for Germany. Bazuna, who I believe was on loan at one point, wasn't he? Back in the day. He's now moved on a permanent to Oxford City. So they've spent a little bit of money. They've also sold a few players. Charlie Musinda's left. He was a high earner at the club, so maybe a good idea to get him off the wage budget if he wasn't performing. I think Neymar's still here. Yeah, he is. He's not retiring. Oh, he is retiring. He's retiring the end of next season. So he's 36 now. His physicals are awful, but he's still got his technical and mental ability, as you can see there. Mr. Perfect is now the highest earner at the club. I gave him a 150k contract. I wanted to make him the highest earner. Makes sense. I know I've been fiddling around a bit with the editor, but it made sense to give him a better contract, and hopefully it will help him stay at the club as well. So that's the team. It's tiny, isn't it? Let's see how they get on in this 4th season in the top flight. Well then, Oxford City have qualified for the Champions League by finishing 4th in the Premier League, 73 points. Mr. Perfect, top goal scorer, 2nd highest average rating behind Yuri Tielemans, and most man of the match awards, as you can see there. He didn't win Footballer of the Year, that did go to Tielemans, and the Players Player of the Year also went to him. Look at the Man United dominance. They have easily won the league, finishing 15 points clear of Liverpool. But how did Mr. Perfect get on then in this season? So he scored 34 goals in all competitions, 33 in the league, of course, finished top goal scorer in the Premier League. 18 man of the match awards and 11 assists. Really good average rating as well. He's now got 442 league goals in 347 games. That is incredible. Of course, most of them in the lower leagues. But considering he's playing in a weaker team compared to the last experiment, Mr. Perfect was playing with some of the best players in the world at Liverpool, Barcelona and then Man United. So it enabled him to get extremely high average ratings, man of the match awards, assists, goals, etc., especially when playing in a forward role. But he still should be scoring tons of goals because he's the best player on earth. But to be playing with weaker players is always going to be detrimental to your performance, I suppose. But he has dragged this Oxford City team into the Champions League places, which is fantastic to see. I don't know if he's won the Ballon d'Or again. He did last year, but Phil Foden has picked it up whilst playing for PSG in the most recent one in 2027. He did finish 2nd, as you can see there. So he's picked up 2 golden balls, which is not bad going at all. Footballer of the Year, he's won 3 times. So he did beat Phil Foden to that one. World Player of the Year, he's also won that twice. And of course, he's going to be in the World Team of the Year every year. I don't know if he's in the overall one. He is. There he is, Mr. Perfect. So this is only seems to include his goals scored since getting into the top flight, I think. It's not included any of the statistics from below the Premier League. I'm not sure why. I don't know if maybe you have to be in the top flight for it to be counted towards the World Team of the Year. Not entirely sure. So Oxford City, how did they get on in the other tournaments this season? They crashed out at the first stage, or the second round of the Carabao Cup on penalties against Bristol Rovers. Not a good day for the club, that one. But in the FA Cup, they did get through to the 4th round, but they lost in a replay against Wolves. So it was all about the league this year. They beat Fulham 6-0 on the penultimate day of the season, thanks to 4 goals from Mr. Perfect, boosting his goal tally in the end. So, big question now is how can they perform, or how will they perform, in the Champions League? Let's find out. Miraculously, Oxford City, at the first attempt, have reached a Champions League final. And they're going to be taking on Man United. It's an all-England affair. And we're going to watch it. We have to. Oxford City with Mr. Perfect in the Champions League final. Brilliant stuff. He's also got the highest average rating this season in the competition. Most Man of the Match awards as well. Man United, the current holders of the tournament. But very strangely, both teams have not qualified for next year's Champions League via the league. So it's a winner takes all. Not just winning the cup. It's qualifying for the next tournament as well. This is just so unique and bizarre. The 5th best team in England versus the 6th best team in England, according to the league, this season in the Champions League final. It's unheard of. I mean, all the talented teams in Europe, and we end up with the 5th and 6th best team in England reaching the final. It's just really strange. Although it wasn't the best season for Oxford City in the league, dropping down to 5th place this year, Mr. Perfect's had his best personal season in the top flight by scoring 38 goals in 38 games, 48 goals in all competitions so far this season. He might be able to reach 50 if he can score a couple in the final, of course. He really has had an unbelievable season in this season. He's won Footballer of the Year. There we go. Player of the Year. There we go. Brilliant. So yeah, exceptional season for Oxford City. If we just have a look at the other competitions, I don't think they did particularly well. Crashed out in the 5th round of the FA Cup. Carabao Cup-wise, they did get through to the quarter-final this time, but lost against Everton on penalties. Going into the final, had a decent run. They defeated Liverpool, by the way, in the semi-final. Let me just filter out the Champions League only. There we go. That was the journey. So they had Monaco, Barcelona and Shakhtar in their group. They finished second behind Barcelona, so they had to take on Bayern Munich in the first knockout round, who they dispatched 5-2 on aggregate. Then they beat Inter Milan 6-2 on aggregate, getting revenge for the Europa League performance because they lost against them in the Europa League, didn't they? And then, despite a loss in the first leg, they managed to win 2-0 at home and get through to the Champions League finals. It's been an incredibly difficult journey. So it's not like they've had an easy journey to get to the final. It's been really tough and they've done it. So magnificent stuff. And we're going to watch the final now. Mr. Perfect has taken them all the way to the top. And if they win the Champions League, then I think that's mission accomplished. They haven't won the league, but I think I might holiday into the future, but just let it run. And I won't pay attention to if he leaves the club or not. We'll just see what happens for the rest of his career. And I'll just holiday into the future. I'll probably do it overnight and then see what happens in the last few years of his career. He's still young. You know, we've had 4 parts and he's only 26, but I've been focusing more in the more detail of Oxford City's journey compared to the last experiment, I suppose. What on earth are Oxford City playing this guy at the back for? Danny West, what the hell? Why? What is going on there? Dewhurst in goal instead of Bazuna. What's happened to... Oh, this team is just different now, isn't it? This is strange. This is a weird team. What is going on? They've got Mexican international midfield, but why are they playing an 18-year-old at the back here? Danny West. He's played plenty of football, but he looks, not going to lie, useless. What on earth is this all about? He's got a terrible average rating. Why are they playing him? This is suicidal. It's probably because the squad is just so small. I don't understand why it's so small. These are the transfers they made this year. £82 million coming in. 35 going out. I think it's basically because they don't really have much of a youth academy. So the players aren't particularly good. If we look at their facilities, they're back at the John Woodley Arena, by the way, which now has over 20,000 capacity. But look at the facilities. They have improved a little bit. They're all poor before, but they've gone up to adequate. But it takes like a whole season to go up a grade. So to get to the best facilities, it's going to take a while for them. So it is a very much work in progress. But compare this team, apart from Mr. Perfect, compare the team to this Man United team. They are just far too strong. Rashford on the left-hand side. There's lots of regions involved these days. Of course, Kieran Tierney at left-back, 105 caps for Scotland. They've still got De Gea in goal at the age of 38. Their physicals have gone off a cliff. Not so bad for a goalkeeper, but that is just bizarre. And they've got the player of the season from last year, Tielemans, on the bench. So it just shows how good this team is, I suppose. They've still got Paul Pogba. He's survived. He's 36, 171 caps for France. I mean, the team is just so weak compared to this Man United team. But Mr. Perfect is the difference. And he can make a massive difference, as we've seen. He's got 20 on important matches. You know, the hidden attribute. So that will help, of course. But that weak centre-back worries me. Really does worry me. It's probably why they've been up and down with some results. You know, they can lose by a significant scoreline sometimes if he makes mistakes. He's just completely out of water. I mean, look at him there. What's that all about? It's lucky it's hit him on the back of the heel. Not a good start to the game for him. He's got fortunate, and Man United's still on the attack here with, I don't know what his name is. Kieran Tierney, here we go. What's his name? Majori? Something like that. We're defending okay here, but they have still managed to keep possession, and this looks like a chance. Dest into the box, crosses it in, and once again, the centre-back, the young centre-back, is nowhere to be seen, and they have taken the lead. This is when you need Mr. Perfect at centre-back, just to replace the weak link. He can just drive up the pitch from centre-back position, dribble past everyone. I'd probably do that in today, actually. Intercepted there. Maybe Oxford City can break here. He's got 3 players ahead of him, and he's lost. Why didn't he pass? He had the opportunity to pass the ball then. He did well, and then just gave possession away. But here is Mr. Perfect, finally on the ball. What damage can he do? Look at him go. Look at him go. He's still going. He's finally passed it. And is it going to go back to him? Mr. Perfect at the back post scores. That was all about him. It was a brilliant run. And then a simple pass, and you're just thinking, get it to Mr. Perfect at the back post. He's got 20 on jumping reach, 20 on heading, 20 on strength. He's going to beat any defender in the air. And he did that. It's a perfect cross, to be fair. And it's nodded in, and it's 1-1. I feel like I'm in control of Oxford City. I'm obviously not. I've had some control, using the editor, of course, changing the contract details for Mr. Perfect, etc. But in terms of actually playing the game, I had no control over the tactics. You know, I would never put this Danny West out onto the pitch in the Champions League final. But it still feels like I'm managing Oxford City because I'm willing them to win. I want Mr. Perfect to do well. I want Oxford City to win this game. But I literally have no control whatsoever. Here come Man United, looking to take the lead before the half-time whistle. Dest crosses it in. Where's the defence? It's too easy. Fortunately, a terrible shot nearly hits the corner flag. We need Mr. Perfect. Oh no, here's Head. Head with a chance. It's off the post. It's saved by De Gea. That didn't even involve Mr. Perfect, that phase of play. It's a corner. Whipped in, and this should be the last action. Yep, it is. Half time, 1-1, not bad. Mr. Perfect's got them back into it. Here's Mr. Perfect, first action of the second half, and Alvarez feeds it into Head, the Oxford City striker. Decent save by De Gea. Clear-cut chance for Oxford, though, their first clear-cut chance of the game. The fact that Oxford are playing this youngster, and they've got other youngsters on the bench, it just highlights where Oxford City have come from. They've still got the infrastructure of a lower league club. They've still got some players of the ability of a lower league club. But here goes Mr. Perfect again into the box and hits the side netting. Should have crossed it in, really. They really do heavily rely on him, even at this stage when they're qualifying for Champions League. They can't just rely on other players. Neymar's left the club, of course. He's retired. So, yeah, it's just Mr. Perfect these days. I think they're possibly weaker than they were before. Here's Rashford hitting the side netting. Of course, they finished lower in the table this year than last year. So I do think they're slightly weaker as an all-round squad. But obviously, Mr. Perfect has really turned it on this year. And here he goes into the box. I've noticed this. There's a lot of shots from the angle on FM20 when it really should be a cross. It's not really Mr. Perfect's fault there. It's going to extra time unless there's a bit of action here. Man United haven't done much in the second half. They have been the better team statistically, though, and Dest crosses it in. It's headed away, and now get the ball to Mr. Perfect. Instead, they've put it out wide to the left, but that might be a good thing because then Mr. Perfect can drive into the box. There he is. Feed it to him. That is dreadful. It was a good run, but in the end, you get your head up. Look at Mr. Perfect chasing back, almost winning possession, but Rashford, oh wow, he's done well there. And goalkeeper, what was that? Everton, of all players, wins the game probably for Man United here. That is disappointing. That was a real chance for Oxford City to win it, and in the end they go and lose it. Mr. Perfect probably should have taken out Rashford completely. It was an excellent run from Marcus Rashford, though. And that's it, surely. Unless we can have more drama. There's a couple minutes of injury time. We're going to have to continue into the future again. I will holiday another season and hopefully Oxford City can qualify for the Champions League again. Because this year, of course, they haven't qualified. unless there is late drama. But 2 minutes to go. It's unlikely, but you never know. Here's another chance for Laners. It's terrible cross this time. And Man United can just time waste now and win a second Champions League final in a row. Here's a chance though. Head into Mr. Perfect Knight. Oh, come on! Yes! Oh, yes! It's 2-2. It's going to extra time. What a dramatic end to this game. Mr. Perfect with the assist. Ben Knight with the goal. Who is he? I don't know. He's not bad. You know, he's an average English central midfielder. Isn't capped or anything like that. Championship quality, maybe. I don't know. Lower Premier League quality. Lovely play. But great passing. Mr. Perfect with a nice pass in the end. And Knight with a lovely finish. So we're going to extra time here. Can they do it? Come on, Oxford City. Goes to penalties. Then Mr. Perfect obviously has a chance. But he's got a free kick opportunity here. And he's got 20 on free kicks, of course. Can he do it? Up he steps. And he scores his 50th goal of the season. That is just like a penalty for him, though. From the edge of the box. 20 on free kicks. Deadly. A wonderful free kick. Curled over De Gea. And there's a chance here. There's a chance they can win the Champions League. A very good chance. They just need to hang on. Mr. Perfect with a great tackle. And now he can run. Where's he going? He's put a ball into Knight. Knight's through again. Knight to win it. No, it's tipped wide and it's another clear-cut chance missed. What a ball. What a bit of play from Mr. Perfect. He's single-handedly winning this here for Oxford City. It's no surprise now, really. It's still brilliant to watch. I love it. And here he goes again. Look at him. Ah, the pace. I mean, he's got stamina of 20, of course, so he can keep running all day long, although he is tired. It looks like he's picked up a bit of a knock. He's probably been running too much, if anything. Chance for Man United here to make it 3-3. This is a real classic Champions League final, isn't it? So what you want to see. Man United, powerful team, getting beaten by Oxford City, and they don't seem to be very urgent. What's De Gea doing? You know, where's the urgency from Manchester United? That's headed away. Here's Knight again. He's done well. And he's through. And he has another go, but it's a bit of a toe punt, P-roller type shot, isn't it? They've really come alive since conceding that second goal against Man United, scoring the equaliser, and then in the extra time, they've been the better team, haven't they? And here we go again. Head. I think they're still on attack. Look at all the players getting into the box. Head. Crosses it in. It's cleared. And now this is the problem. They push so many men forward. They get hit on the break. And Rashford is deadly. Mr. Perfect's desperately trying to get back. And he's done so well there. That is unbelievable defending. That is... And he started an attack. Knight is through again. Knight can't capitalise. It's another clear-cut chance missed. But what a brilliant piece of play. I just love this. He's on 56%. Did you see him race back? And somehow, with so much ground to make up, he did it. Of course, he's got the long throws ability as well, hasn't he? I forgot about that. He's got a weapon at long throws. Can do everything. But here come Man United looking to make it 3-3. Mr. Perfect can clear. And now... Oh, this is a fun match to watch. Knight is through again. Knight! Where's he going? He's hit it in the side. He wasn't offside or anything, was he? He's had so many chances as Knight. He scored one of them, but he really should have more. He's done well in that attacking midfield. Well, Mr. Perfect's moved up front. They've gone 2 up front for some reason, Oxford City. They're going to do it here. They're going to do it. They've gone and bloody done it. Oxford City have won the Champions League. Mr. Perfect with an unbelievable performance, some of which was defensively as well. Unbelievable. Wow. Oh, this guy is absolutely insane. He's just so unstoppable. So much fun. Oxford City, champions of Europe. Suddenly they go up to 4.5-star worldwide reputation by winning the Champions League automatically. It just goes up. That's what happens. Unbelievable. That was one of the most fun matches I've seen on Football Manager. And it almost felt like I'd won the Champions League. I did nothing, but it still felt like I'd had some sort of power. Just willing them on. I'm sure you know what I mean. Now, to try and keep Mr. Perfect at the club, I'm going to give him a big contract, like 250k a week probably. Oxford should be able to afford that now. The bonuses are quite low, so that's not a problem. He's got a few bonuses like goal bonus, appearance fee, that sort of thing. And we're going to increase it basically to as far as we possibly can go. End of June 2034. Hopefully that keeps him at the club. He's obviously worth a huge amount of money. He's not worth. He should be worth maximum of 99. That's the maximum it can go up to. But it's not done that for him for whatever reason. It's probably because he's playing for Oxford City. So I'm going to holiday a few years. I will do it overnight and try and go as far into the future as possible. And Mr. Perfect will grow old and hopefully win a few more things with Oxford City. He might move. There's a chance he might move. His contract could run up, obviously, in 5 years' time, and then he might move teams. But what a season! 50 goals in all competitions this season. Sensational. This team is so small. It's just such a bizarre squad. But Oxford City should be able to completely transform the club now by winning the Champions League. It's so special, and it's the first big major trophy they've won. Because they've, of course, won the National League South, the League 2, League 1. But it is actually their first major competition win. And it's the big one. It's the biggest one of all, the Champions League. Amazing. So, yeah, join me in a few seconds when I've holidayed into the future. So we've jumped forward quite a few years. It's now May 2041. Mr. Perfect is 38 and he's been retired from professional football for a year. He has become a manager, but once again, just like in the last experiment, he hasn't found a club because he's a pretty useless manager, even though he's Mr. Perfect. He's had a remarkable career, as you'd expect from the world's greatest footballer ever. He scored 802 league goals in the end in 714 games. Remember, that doesn't include all the cup games, the Champions League games. This total down here is just the league games. But you're probably wondering how Oxford City performed over the last few years. It's been rather good. Unfortunately, they haven't managed to win the league, but they have consistently been in the top four. They did finish fifth once. Let's see, where else? Sixth. But other than those two seasons, they have been in the top four. And in their last season with Mr. Perfect, they did finish second, and without him, they finished third. So he has transformed this club into a worldwide 5-star reputation club. Only okay finances, which seems a bit strange. They've still got the Chinese guys in charge. They might have spent a lot of money. I don't know. They've probably spent quite a bit of money over the years. 149 million, sold 41.5 million in the most recent season. But yeah, Mr. Perfect's days are over, but a legacy has certainly been produced by him at Oxford City. And they actually won the Champions League 4 times. 4 times in total, which is remarkable. PSG have dominated in the recent years, but of course they first won it back in 2029. Since then, 3 other wins against Man City in 2035, Barcelona in 2036, and PSG in 2038. Astonishing stuff. Really astonishing. To win it 4 times is incredible, considering they haven't even won the Premier League. Runners up twice in the Premier League and third place 4 times. They won the World Club Championship in 2037 as well, which was actually the last one. It's only every 4 years, this thing. They beat PSG in 2037 to win that competition. It's like a proper World Cup for clubs now. The FA Cup, they've managed to win that twice. In 2032 and 2036. They also reached the most recent final without Mr. Perfect, of course, and lost that. They lost the 2033 final as well, so very successful in that competition as well. I just want to look at the Champions League final wins just to show you the results. We won't be able to see. Oh, they're in the final about to happen as well. I have actually holidayed past this point, and they did lose it. I've holidayed all the way to 2046. So they did actually lose this final, but we could watch it again. But without Mr. Perfect, it's not much fun, is it? Let's just go back then and see what happened. So Mr. Perfect, by the way, in 2046, still hadn't found a club. He was still a manager, but he hadn't found a club in 6 seasons. So they beat PSG 2-1 in 2038. In 2036, they beat Barcelona 3-0. Now, I actually had a look at this final on an old save, and Mr. Perfect played, but he didn't actually score. And in the previous year, they beat Man City 2-1. So, impressive stuff. To win it twice in a row as well is very special. I assume Mr. Perfect... What? How is he only on the icons list? This is broken. We've seen problems with this list before, with Messi not being on the Legends list for Barcelona, but Mr. Perfect not even on the The legends list for Oxford City is just ridiculous considering what he has achieved at the club. What do I want to look up? Oh yeah, I wanted to look at this. So all those awards he's won over the years, it's ridiculous. Oh, Carabao Cup as well, forgot about that one. So Oxford City have managed to win this competition 3 times, won it twice in a row here, as you can see. Never lost a final, so they're very successful in the finals that they managed to get to. We'll just go back and look at some of the landmarks. I mean, look at all those competitions. That is incredible. After reaching the Premier League, of course, he managed to win the World Cup, won the European Football Championships with England as well. They've been very successful, so he actually won 3 in a row with them, assuming he played for them. Let's just have a look at the England team now. Mark Molesley in charge. Oxford City is the top club in England, despite not winning the Premier League. It's all those Champions League wins. Oh, that is incredible. 5-star. This is really quite special, what Oxford City have done. He has single-handedly transformed the club into the 5-star world reputation team, the top team in England. What's their stadium like? What do they have? I'm jumping around all over the place. It's still only 25,000-seater stadium, which seems a little bit bizarre. I might open the 2046 file and see if they're still in the same stadium. I mean, the team that they have, wage-wise, they're paying a lot of money to some players. This Welsh player is on 300k a week, worth 70 million. Brandon Jenkins, another. They've pillaged Wales, haven't they? 123 caps for Wales, this chap has, and 250k a week for this French guy. 43 caps for his country, looks really good. So they've obviously been able to sign some world-class talent. They've got lots of players with lots of money. I think their facilities have been improved. Superb training facilities, good corporate facilities, great data analysis, superb youth facilities, but only adequate academy coaching and adequate recruitment. So that needs to be improved, doesn't it? But I keep getting distracted. Let's go back to Mr. Perfect, because these are all his landmarks. In terms of awards, he won loads of awards. If we look at the Footballer of the Year, he obviously won that many times by the looks of it. Yep, and he missed out a few times, didn't he, in the years that he was actually playing. So, well, Golden Ball, he managed to win that multiple times in a row. 11 times in a row, and he also won it twice before that. So 13 Ballon d'Or awards for Mr. Perfect. That is special. He won it at the age of 36 before retiring, and obviously didn't feature this year. Footballer of the Year, similar story. Player of the Year, also a very similar story, as you can see there. Well, Team of the Year, all seasons. He's there in central midfield, which is a bit bizarre. These are his stats after reaching the top flight, by the way. So 602 goals in 709 games. If we include all of the lower division goals and games, it's going to be a lot. I mean, he might... I don't think he's quite on 1,000 goals. I'm not sure he's emulated Pele, but he's certainly got over 1,000 appearances if you include the lower leagues. If anyone wants to count it up, if I just go back, you could pause the video and have a look. If you look at the bottom here, it has all the appearances, goals, assists, etc. So if anyone fancies it, I'm just going to scroll up and ramble away a bit. Because, yeah, I'm really, really pleased with the support on the channel over the last few days. Thank you for everyone that has watched my experiments. There will be more coming. I'm thinking of doing a perfect manager because that's been suggested and seems to be a popular suggestion. The other option is to have like a perfect team as well and see how they compete in the Premier League, like perfect players in every position. Would they actually concede a single goal in an entire season? Could they go the whole season without conceding one? I don't know. The other option is to have Mr. Perfect playing for the lowest ranked nation in the world. That could be interesting as well. Like I don't know who it would be. Might even be San Marino. I don't know who's lowest at the moment. I'd have to have a look. So yeah, there's different options with this. So just to prove to you, I did holiday to 2046. Mr. Perfect at the age of 43 still didn't manage to get into management, really, didn't find a club. I forgot to mention he ended up with 128 goals in 157 games for England, by the way. He'd have easily smashed 200 if he'd started playing for them when he was in the lower leagues, but it didn't happen. Oxford City have dropped down to second, by the way, in the English rankings. And they still haven't won the league. They finished second the last 3 seasons. Although, no, they've done it. They have done it. I hadn't actually looked at this file. Oxford City have managed to win the Premier League for the first time. After all these years, Arsenal dominated for a while. Oxford City just kept finishing second. So they've done it without Mr. Perfect. But without Mr. Perfect, to confuse you there, this club wouldn't be where it is, of course. We've put one perfect player into this non-league team, and they've risen all the way to the top. They won 4 Champions Leagues with Mr. Perfect playing for them. I don't know if they've won any more. Runners-up, as I said, in the 2041 final against Real Madrid. Runners-up multiple times in the Premier League with Mr. Perfect. They won the Club World Championship with him and also without him in 2041, beating Juventus in the final. They won the Super Cup 3 times with him, the FA Cup twice with him and once since then. Runners-up a few times as well, as you can see there. Carabao Cup, they managed to win 3 times with him. Community Shield, and all the non-league competitions as well. So with him, they just achieved so much, and he transformed the club into what it is now. And of course, they've managed to finally win the Premier League. I am so happy for them. Really, really happy that they've finally managed it. But I did want to see the facilities. So they have improved to good youth recruitment. They're still in the 25,000-seater stadium. So I assume they're selling it out, surely. I mean, they're the biggest team. They were the biggest team in England, yeah. They need a bigger stadium, that is for sure. But what a season to go and win at the Premier League this year. Champions League-wise, they were knocked out in the Champions in the semi-final, sorry. So that's a bit unlucky. But I'm so pleased they finally managed to win the league. Let's just have a quick look at the squad. Lots of money being spent again. Wages-wise, I mean, this Welsh guy now, this is the same one? I don't know. He's on 475k a week, which is crazy. Top goal scorer was Sam Annies, a Belgian international. Looks very good. Nothing compared to Mr. Perfect, of course. Polish international also did quite well. He looks rather tasty. So what can we take from this experiment then? If you put a perfect player in a non-league team on Football Manager, it can transform the club. They rose up the leagues so easily. One thing I forgot to mention, actually, was that Mr. Perfect stayed at Oxford City. It didn't really matter in the end. Because I gave him that big contract, he just stayed and no other club came in for him. And of course, by this point, Oxford City were just such a huge club. If I was to do this experiment again, of course, I would, on the pre-game editor, set this player to have a future transfer in like 50 years' time so that he would definitely never move and we wouldn't have to fiddle around so much. So that's a learning point for me. So I don't think there's anything else to show, to be honest. This beautiful human being, a model citizen, has had a perfect... Well, nothing's perfect, let's be honest. Even Mr. Perfect isn't perfect. He's had an incredible career. Unfortunately, he didn't get into management. But maybe I will do a Mr. Perfect manager experiment. If you would like that, let me know. Anything else as well? Any other? It doesn't have to be perfect experiments. It can involve anything on Football Manager. Let me know your suggestions. Thank you for everyone that has already suggested something. I think we'll end it there. Oh, I just want to check if England won the World Cup again with Mr. Perfect. Maybe they did. I don't know if he was still playing in 2038, but let's just I can't talk. Let's assume he was. Let's just go back. 2038 on 5-1 in the final. I'm going to actually try and find that final. Okay, I'm going back to the World Cup final. Mr. Perfect played and he scored 2 goals. So he managed to win the World Cup for England again in 2038. I think he retired soon after. Because look, 157 caps, 128 goals. So yes, he did retire very soon after. So we'll end with that. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already done so, please hit that like button. It'd be much appreciated. But until next time, enjoy FM20. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you very soon.